Buttons?
So again.
Any other questions?
Have any questions?
We converted it into kind of more of an office space, and but we were able to, because even if my parents can't use the area for specific purposes, they can still have a space to be away most of the time. So we were approved to put in a kitchen and a bathroom and make it decorating, say, and so that's where we are on that. Yeah, and the truth of the matter is that this isn't for everybody, right? Not everybody wants people sharing their property. Not everybody's ready to share their space with family, even if it's separated by a walk, And but for some of us, it is really necessary.
Discuss it. We'll try to,
Okay.
all right, our next, agenda item is,
Phase 2A, Phase 2B are planning commission for 5 o'clock. 2A, if you look down to the lot layout, this is interesting from the standpoint that there are no utilities in these phases. All of the utilities were installed in phase 1. So this phase 2A only reflects on this. All the road utilities are being installed. All of the stubs into these lots are phase 1. So there's no utility work. It's just this lot layout. To a 30 lots. And so there are still a few missing pieces of this subdivision. We're still probably 6 to 8, 10 months. If they're still not approved, this approval does not include any bridge crossing Bear Canyon. That is still being worked on. That will come in later phase. We're still pieces of that. But I want to make it clear to the planning commission. I hope you read it, staff report. Brandon and I spent quite a bit of time on last week with our geotech engineer, Tim Thompson. And this 600-page geotechnical, probably the first of its kind in the United States. This is the most complex subdivision we've ever been involved with collectively anywhere that anybody's ever heard of. There are a lot of moving pieces. And a city this size, I just cannot stress enough the need to have a professional individual that can oversee the day-to-day operations and installation of this subdivision. The city cannot handle it. New City manager cannot walk into this and take installed and maintained, this is going to need attention. Brandon, I think from a staff standpoint, our hope is we want to get this thing installed as close to what was required as possible. That's our goal. If we can get the installation done right, I don't know what the future holds as far as maintaining what everybody's supposed to do. I don't know how that's going to go. Probably don't have a ton of control over that, but I think we do have control of the installation. And so we're saying, let's try to do it right. Let's have the staff that's necessary, and the people that are necessary. I included, because of all this, and trying to help the city stay out of trouble, I'm suggesting implementing 3 specific requirements that we haven't talked about. They're affidavits, 3 separate affidavits. One, the first one is that an affidavit signed by Matt Lowe, that he is disclosed to each lot owner all of the constraints and conditions of the geotech system report. And secondly, signed by each lot owner that they are aware of those constraints and conditions at the time of purchase. He discloses to them, they disclose that they understand.
And as part of their disclosure, if I remember correctly, they would have them.
Yes.
So they can't just say, oh, this is 9,680 foot, right?
Yeah. We don't want somebody to come into the city, which we know they're coming. They're coming. And they're going to lean on you, the city council, and say, we can't jump through all this. Just let us go. We want them to stay in writing. I was told, and I understand. So affidavit number 2 would be an affidavit signed by Reeve Associates, project engineer, and CMT, geotechnical engineer, that confirms each individual set of plans submitted by individual lot owners conform to the requisite portion of geotechnical requirements, and that those submitted plans by peer review by GeoStrata are geotechnical engineer. So we're saying the engineer of record and CMT, their geotechnical engineer, is going to sign off on that set of plans and say that set of plans is designed to our specifications. The third affidavit is that Reeve Associates and CMT stating that the as-built conditions, so this is after everything's been implemented, that it was implemented according to the plans that were submitted and approved on each lot. And that, secondly, the affidavit will be signed, contain a signature of the homeowner stating that they will not modify any of the grading or installation of the required conditions, and that affidavit will be recorded against the property in the county. This, as an attorney, I think you would appreciate, this is a bunch of paperwork.
I love affidavits. I'm all about this.
And some people will tell you they're not worth the paper they're written on. But we believe that it will be extremely challenging to do everything that is required to do. And the reason for this is simply this. As we met with our geotechnical engineer, he showed us page after page after page after page of the geotechnical engineer saying that this all works if it's installed and the conditions are exactly as we're stating here.
Right.
If one thing is different, all bets are off. And that is a lot of pressure in my mind to put on other individuals. That is a lot of pressure. And to put on a city, because at the end of the day, it will fall right back in the city's lap. And they'll say, you didn't require it. You didn't tell us. We're trying to do everything we can to make sure that people understand that it is your responsibility to know what you're getting into here. So this nobody's done anything wrong. The conditions of the property dictate all this. It's going to be challenging. That's all we're saying. we need to be prepared to be in a position to make sure that that installation, that subdivision is as good as it can be. As good as it can be.
Jeff, are you talking about or, go ahead.
My question is, once some of these lots get purchased and then sold again, what, those affidavits will be signed by the not current landowner? How do we handle
The
that?
final affidavit saying that the first guy in that supposedly will build this property, that will be recorded against the property. So you hope the next property owner, if he bothers to read his title report, which we don't know that he will, but if he does, he's gonna find out that the guy before him had to live by these conditions. You have to live by them as well. Clark, you know that 10 or 15 years down the road, half of this stuff will be forgotten by everybody.
Right.
None of us that are even sitting here today will even be here. And so it'll be up to other people that come after us to enforce all these things, and HOAs to enforce things that we know they're notoriously bad at enforcing. So let's get it installed the best it can be. Let's put everything in place. And then I don't know what the future brings. I don't know. I don't think any of us here can say what's gonna happen when that third or fourth homeowner comes along and says, I'm not doing any of that, I'm putting in a swimming pool.
Well, you can, on the title report, you can have it flagged. I mean, I look at title reports all the time, and there's stuff that's on them, and if there's any way for us, you know, when they record it, that it's recorded on there, and when you do the property report, every time when it's sold, it'll flag on the title report. And usually, before closing, you know, the escrow officers will flag that usually, so that they know about it, hopefully.
I feel like homeowners, lot owners are going to be angry. Let's say they're paying $500,000 for a lot, which is probably realistic.
or
It's
seven.
probably gonna cost them another 150 on top of it by the time they've gone through all this stuff. Time they've engineered this, the way that it is outlined to be engineered, it's going to be quite a bit more expensive. I want that disclosed to them up front. Before they sign that, before they buy that lot, I want the developer disclosing that to them. I want them to know, so when they come in here whining to the city, we didn't know this, we can't do all this, say, yeah, you did know, because this piece of paper says you know.
And then on top of that, going back to the HOA, I remember we put together the development agreement with Matt, and we worked on that last year or whenever. Have the HOA governing documents, did we look at those as well? Is that something we've got our fingers on? I'm trying to remember.
We should. We've got some preliminary stuff, it's not a final document, but, I think that's a good recommendation, is that this body sees that in a final, format and has an opportunity to comment on it and take a look at it.
Well, the HOA will be the,
That'll be the enforcement.
Initially,
well, it's the developer until a certain percentage takes over.
right?
And so while it's just the developer, there's still some control. But it's when it goes out to the homeowners, that's when the control might be lost, depending on who's on the board.
And I think the developer will do a good job with it as
Yeah.
long as he's in charge. That is where you get nervous, is when it goes to the HOA and they're just they'll be the enforcement arm for the city, out telling people, you can't water this ground right here. You can't plant a tree right there. You can't have a swimming pool. That's where things get tough, and you don't have full-time enforcement staff at this city. You won't have them either.
Nope.
So it will, this city is relying a whole bunch on written documents. And it's imperative that we get things built the best that it can be built.
Jeff, I was under the impression when we talked before, we approved, the first plat A or 1, that the Bear Creek, connection had to be completed for that to, that was part of that section. And so I was thinking that we couldn't move on to this 2A and 2B until that was in place.
Well, we had that discussion internally. And I agree that that should be on this 2A, that should be there. But guess what? It's not ready. And a lot of that hinges on the city having to acquire their property, and we're struggling with Hayes Creek irrigation.
Well, then.
And so what we're saying is that we will not issue a single building permit on a single lot until that entire subdivision is done. That road will be completely built before we issue the first permit.
Well, that's what we thought, but I was thinking that was with, even just with, 1, that we couldn't, phase 1 is approved only based upon, contingent upon Bear Creek. So it seems like it's premature for us to move on
So
to 2A and 2B.
this is contingent too. I mean, that's item number 1 in the recommendation, is that this is still needs to be approved, and it's contingent upon that.
But I feel like, should they keep moving forward when we haven't even, completed what was required for phase 1?
So I can speak to the Hayes Creek issue. I've got a meeting with Hayes Creek on Monday morning at 9 o'clock. It sounds like they're ready to approve the property swap, which is what they've requested. I also have spoken to our city attorney, and if that doesn't occur, we're ready to go another route. And the attorney's preparing those documents. But it sounds like Hayes Creek's ready. It's just taken them a while to get that approval through their board. We've got all the quit claim deeds to swap the property. We have the property where their diversion is currently in the Bear Creek Canyon area. We own that property, and they need that diversion to be their property, and we need the roadway to be our property. So it sounds like it's going to get approved. I'll know Monday morning exactly what's happening. I'm happy to send a text out to all of you and let you know, just so you've got an idea of where it's going. But
All of the engineering and design for the bridge is all done.
it's all done.
So
It's just getting that property swap. That's the only thing.
This property is holding us up. It's holding us at bay.
So do you think we should wait though, till it's all done and they're moving forward to do phase 2A and B? What's the benefit of?
I don't think it's necessary. I'm gonna go out on a limb here, but I don't think it's necessary to wait, because the city has there's a greater purpose for the property than Hayes Creek's need, and we have the ability to acquire or to obtain a property for a greater purpose, and that's the road.
I asked the developer that question that you just asked. Why do you need this approved right now? Why don't we wait till these other things are in place? And I think at the end of the day, if you felt really strongly about this, that pushing this thing off for 30 days or whatever isn't gonna change the world. But he says that I need to get on these lots and do some grading. I need to start grading on these lots, and I can't do anything because they're not approved. And so that's his main thing, is I need to get into these lots. I need to put utilities in there. I need to do some grading. Our tractors are up there working. We need to start laying these lots out. That's his position.
They own those lots, right? Or they have,
Well, they own land.
or at least they have rights to own those lots.
Well, they own all the land of it. They're trying to stub in all the utilities.
We'll hold the plats. we won't record, they can't sell a lot until the plats are recorded. We'll hold the plats until all this work's done.
Has phase one been recorded?
No,
No, because we're not, they haven't.
No,
done
Because of
something.
contingencies.
all we've allowed them to do is grade the property and install utilities.
But it's a lot. You go
It's a
over it.
lot.
They've done a ton.
Which
There's
is,
a lot of grading that's occurred.
and they're free to grade phase two and install utilities if.
No.
They don't have any phase two. They don't have.
They, on property that they own, they cannot grade that property and install utilities yet,
No, that's what they want us to, do tonight.
because we're holding off on final
No,
phase two, or what's being asked tonight?
Because part of phase one was to have the Bear Creek connection done. And we're waiting on that, and that's what we were saying, like, why move on to 2A to B, but they're saying they want us to approve it so that they can grade it and stuff.
Okay,
They can't move on to we approve it.
and that's the request now, is final approval for phase two A and two B, is that correct?
But they can do all the utilities based off of one, right? Because there's no utilities in this one. So it's just the
I
grading.
suspect they can step utilities into the property, but they want to start getting on those properties and grading them. Lay out all of the lots and get, there's specific grading requirements that have to be met. And I think there's an element, there's this element sitting here on the side is that, will the city approve this?
So what's the staff recommendation?
That we approve it contingent to the items in the staff report?
For the whole subdivision, not just two A and two B?
No, that we do 2A and 2B. We've already approved phase one. We approved phase 2A and 2B, subject to the items in the staff report. We're comfortable where we're at. We spent a lot of time talking to people and we're comfortable where we're at. We don't see any, but I just want to make you aware, there are still parts still to come. So we're gonna be back in here with a phase 3 and a phase 4 and maybe even a phase 5. So there's still things coming. This is just a step along the route, and let me just speak to 2B for just a second. 2B is down on Mountain Road. It's 2 lots on Mountain Road, so it's really detached from all of this other. It's pretty much 2 standard lots. All of their utilities will come off of Mountain Road. They have access to water and secondary water and everything else there. So that really is a separate subdivision, but it's not, it was part of the preliminary approval. So 2B is those 2 lots right there. 2A is the 31 lots up on top. And really, the lots that have the most geotechnical concerns associated with them.
well, the next phase has the most.
Well,
The cul-de-sacs in.
yeah, the ones that haven't brought yet.
But I would,
You feel differently about that?
I think the next lots are more challenging.
Well, I mean, approved now.
I don't, yeah, they've cut the roads in and everything already. They're, like I said, they're just waiting, the minute they get to go ahead and cross the Bear Creek stream, they'll be there.
They've already taken the houses down off those other properties, sir.
Yeah, they did this last week.
Okay, well, are you guys
So-
ready to make a motion?
Well, just another question. Part of this is to include the 3 affidavits, and I guess I feel like they're a really good idea. But one more question, does Matt Lowe know that they're coming?
Yes, we sent this information to him ahead of this meeting last week. We sent it to him and said, here's what we're proposing. If you've got any concerns, let us know. I haven't heard from him, you.
I haven't heard anything from him.
He has this in his hands.
Okay,
I would venture to bet that he already has the the thought that he's gonna have some kind of affidavit signed for all those properties, because every property has a unique requirement. Some have piers that they're gonna have to put under there, some of them have some additional excavation they have to do. So it's a challenging piece of ground, and he's aware of it because our geotech and his geotech have all been working together, and we've been in several meetings, so I would be surprised if he wasn't aware.
Is Matt the developer in his individual name, or does he have a company?
He has a company, I don't know what it is.
So with the affidavit, I would want it to be him individually and him on behalf of his company.
We'll, Kevin, we'll work with our attorney to draft those affidavits.
Okay.
So all we're saying is that this is what the affidavit will do.
Right.
In this approval and report, but the affidavit, we'll have the attorney write an affidavit.
Right.
That meets all of the legal, has all the legal wording and all that. And if you're interested as a planning commission, we could certainly bring them before you to look at before they're finalized.
And then for the other ones that the homeowner and Reeve and CMT, whoever else is signing the other ones, are we also gonna require their individual geotech expert to sign off on those? Just, I guess they're gonna be the ones creating the plan in conjunction with their own engineer. I just would wanna make sure that you almost have like a three-way agreement between the three geotechs. Hey, there's been 3 sets of eyes on this, and we're all kind of on the same page.
When you say, when a geotechnical guy says, this will all work if it's installed this way. To me, that means that he is giving himself an out if one thing isn't done the way he said it should be done.
Right.
We need to make sure it's done that way. Because I don't want him at the end of the day saying, nope, you didn't follow my recommendations.
Right.
Okay, so you want us to approve or deny it tonight, correct?
You can approve, deny, or table.
Okay, so I'm looking for a motion for that.
Just to
Okay,
clarify, the staff report that you wrote, or that you and Brad had collaborated on, those recommendations are different than phase 1, because phase 1 has already been platted. Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, and it's been approved.
So those affidavits would apply to 2A and 2B, not to.
It's
phase.
retroactive, it's also plat one.
Yeah, we'll apply it retroactively. Now,
Because we can withhold building permits essentially, is that right?
yes,
It's basically
yes.
all in one.
Now, this isn't news to anybody. I mean, Matt has said, yes, I'm gonna oversee this and I'm gonna do this and this and this, but we just got collectively thinking this last week. We want something in writing. I want signatures on papers saying that primarily that new homeowners understand what they're getting into. I want their signature on it, because they'll be the ones that are in here at City Hall saying, we're not doing that. You didn't disclose that to us, we're not gonna do it. I want their signature on a piece of paper, because that ends that discussion.
These disclosures will have to go with each title.
These people will be stepping into a world that they have not been in. And there will be problems. It's built into it.
One other question, in our developer, we have that language about, is it these lots at the bottom of the page where they can't build on that? Is that's gonna be in the plat? And I didn't look closely. See, is the language in there already?
So we're still working on that, they still got some geotech, involved.
Okay.
The phase still does.
So that language will be on the phase 3 plat map. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So the next thing that you
I'm
will
glad this is a
see.
straightforward development.
Yeah. The next thing you'll see is the Bear Creek Crossing.
The solace in this whole thing is that this is the best developer we've ever worked with. These guys have done everything they said they would do, and they've been very accommodating. Take that to heart, because I think that they have right intentions. I don't think they're trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes, but there are so many moving pieces that it will be easy to miss things if we're not very methodical.
I'll move to approve the final plat for phase 2A and 2B, subject to the recommendations by staff and their staff report. I will suggest that we clarify that the affidavit for Matt be an individual.
Do you want him as an individual and as
As an entity.
as an entity?
Yeah. And I would also want to make sure that the homeowner geotech signs off as well as our geotech and CMT.
And we've talked about that in the past, yeah, so that,
So and the homeowner has the ability, if they choose to, they have to get approval from us and our geotech to go out and use a different geotech. But the idea is, because CMT has been so involved, CMT would be the geotech for them.
Oh, right, I remember that discussion, yeah. So I mean, they promote the. I would assume-
What you're saying right now, Kevin, really should go to the owners of the property as well, that they're signing as individuals and not as the corporation of their concrete company.
Right? Yeah, or, you know, yeah, I think so, so that I'll come around and say, oh, well, yeah. Tell them, see that, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
okay, I have a motion and a second. What do you think, Brian? Okay. We've got a second.
So then call for.
Oh, now we vote. All in favor?
Favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
One more question before we move on from this development. You talked about having an individual. Is that something we need to put on the agenda to discuss further?
That's something that certainly, I think the mayor and council should take up into consideration, because it's just not realistic to expect that the city manager of Fruit Heights is gonna know what's going on here, a new city manager.
I thought that we talked about that we're gonna have, there's gonna have to be an individual person because it's too big of a, you know, the scope's too big for one person that, like, you know, the city manager to take it on.
And what I'm suggesting is not something the city has to pay for. You pass these costs along.
Right.
This is part of the building permit. So this is not something the city has to do, but it would be imperative to have someone that can watchdog.
So this is in addition to CMT, because under the
Yes.
development agreement,
Yes.
they're on site
Yeah.
and even after development, they're checking up once a year. Is that how we set it up? I'm trying to remember
Well,
something of that nature.
you know, CMT is gonna do their things. The engineer for the project is gonna do his things. Our geotech engineer is gonna do his peer reviews. We need individual representative by the city, because make sure that each one of them have done what they're supposed to do
Right,
too.
right.
And so I'm seeing an overreaching.
What sort of position would that be? Is this like an
Well,
engineer, is this a?
I'll just put it out there right now that I think that in my mind, the group that can handle that is your city engineer, Jones and Associates.
Okay,
They have been on this project since day one.
right,
They have been intricately involved in it. They are not city employees, but they are contracted employees for the city. He has the manpower and the ability to, in my opinion, to do the work, and that's probably who is in the best position to have the know-how and know what needs to be done. That's just my opinion. And know what's been done
right.
for the last 7 years.
And it has around the 600 pages, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's good. So you said we can, charge for that with building permit.
Yep.
Would we charge more for a building permit in this subdivision than any other?
Yep. That's already coming with all of these reviews, these individual geotechnical analysis and reviews are gonna be hiring their own engineers to do all this. It's just another add-on. I just want people to go into this with their eyes wide open and know that have an idea what they're getting into. They're probably gonna be people that have more money than sense, so maybe they don't care. But, we've experienced this just over a long period of time, is that you get these homeowners that don't think that any of that applies to them. Here I come with my set of plans, and I just wanna build my house, and I don't wanna hear about any of this other.
That's a great point about the cost, being able to pass along the cost of the. Is it, Jeff, is it possible to itemize that and get some sort of specific cost?
I think.
I
I think that's possible to have some ballpark. You can have like some estimates.
It'd be nice to have that, well, I want to be transparent with developer too, just let them know, here's what we're thinking, approximation wise, so they know how much we're anticipating passing along to their customers.
Yeah.
Our future customers.
Yeah.
Yeah, building permits can be really expensive. Okay, I think we can move on. All right, number 6, ordinance review and discuss, the general plan. Three.
Want me to take that?
Sure, since I don't know what it is.
We've spent, the last little while, can you hear me? We spent the last little while developing and going through our general plan. Had some open houses, we've had some feedback. We hired Landmark Design to help us with the general plan update, taking the information and applied that to the update, along with requirements that are coming down to us from the state for affordable housing and water and trails and open space, all of that. So with that being said, I've provided you with the final draft of the general plan. I would like for you to spend the next few weeks looking over that. The final step in that general plan is to adopt it. Not adopting it tonight, but hope to adopt it on March 28th.
Is that gonna be a public meeting?
That will be a public meeting. Yeah.
A lot of thoughts on this.
There are a lot of thoughts, and having been involved in the the open houses that we've had quite a few people in, both positive and both negative with anything. There's always pros and cons, and we understand that there's pros and cons. I just remind you that a general plan is a guiding document. It can be changed. It can look different, but this is something that that is being adopted and put in place to help guide the city as we move forward into the future. Okay.
So tonight, you're not expecting us to approve it or anything? We're just-
I'm not expecting you to approve it tonight. I need you to take some time and look through it. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know in a timely manner so that I can respond or I can get Landmark. Landmark will be here at the next Planning Commission meeting. Sam Taylor is the one that we have been working with, and so he will be here that night as well. Okay.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
Brandon and I spent some time on the phone with the Department of Workforce Services, who oversees all of the affordable housing rules in the state. Some things have changed, some laws have changed. They looked at our general plan, the way it's drafted, and they said, not acceptable for affordable housing, doesn't have the language that we want you to have in it. And so I'm working right now to put together some, talk to our attorney, to put some draft language together that's going to be acceptable to them. We have to have an affordable housing element in our general plan that meets the requirements of the law. And so there is going to be some additional pieces that we will propose. We've already talked about this. If we can't get all of that massaged properly, I think our intent is to approve the plan as is, and then come back and modify if we need to. But we will have becoming fairly difficult discussions about what the city has to do. And we are very limited on, I mean, when I look at the list of 12 things, there's only 5 of them that we even hope of doing. So that, I just want to make you aware that that work is going on still right now, and we'll continue to put that together.
And this general plan is also available online on the city's website. You can go, it's there available, it's been there for a while now. So people can also look through it.
Okay, thank you, Brandon.
Okay, any questions? No?
Is the approved ADU ordinance part of that general plan?
So the ordinance isn't, the general plan talks about ADUs. Yeah, so, yep.
But I will tell you, Brian, that urban ADU ordinance checks off one of those things that we had to do.
So
So,
your affordable housing?
yep,
Oh, good.
yep. So there's one of the things, they can't say we haven't done anything.
Yes.
We did that, and that's one of the boxes, boom, right there. We did it.
Okay, Brandon, do you have other business?
No, we just need to
Approve the minutes?
approve those minutes from those past meetings.
Okay, I was reading through them, I think it's November, I mean, we're going back a year on some of those we had to. approve.
Yeah, if you remember, we lost our recording
Yeah,
secretary and it's been.
okay, so, I think it was, I read through them, and I think it was November of 2022. One says we excused Brian Bear, and then one said Brian Bear is there. That's the only thing I saw.
Okay, we'll go back and double check the minutes.
You either here or you weren't here.
I've usually been here.
It says Brian Bear will be late, and it said he's not here.
I seem to remember you being in November.
December.
That was our last one of the year.
December. Do we have one in December?
No, the party. But I read through and that's the one that I saw. It is November, okay, that's what I thought it was November. So, it must have been Brian, he was here. But somebody else must have been excused, and maybe that's not that big of a deal. but-
All this is in the minutes, maybe she had a hard time hearing who it was. Maybe that changed, so,
That's the only thing that I saw when I read through.
okay.
I skimmed through.
The good thing is they weren't super long meetings, they were
Yeah.
pretty brief, so.
You need to approve them individually.
Yes, please.
Okay, so we go through each one? Okay. Okay, does anybody have anything you want to change on November 29th? Just the one thing that we talked about. What about May 17th? We approve that?
I definitely need to arrive late on November 29th.
Please make him on time. Okay.
I'm getting there forever.
Okay, May 17th, looks good. Approve that. Do we say aye, or do we just say approve?
I think we can just lump them all together.
Yeah, you can sort them all together.
Okay.
I'm just
All right,
doing
Kind of the same calendar type thing.
And there was February, March, December.
May, November, September, and March.
Okay.
All right, I will move. Russ, what do we do? Do we have to approve them? Right.
Approve all of them.
I move to approve all of the discussed planning commission meeting minutes.
Do I have a second? We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Along the same things up there.
Okay. We've got three of these, so. Okay, all the minutes have been approved.
Perfect. Now, just a couple of items from the staff. Next time, when Justin Wright is here, we will swear in our two new planning commissioners, Dr. Moss and Justin Wright. They were just recently appointed by Mayor Coleman to be on the planning commission. And we appreciate their willingness to serve in that capacity. So we'll take care of that at the next planning commission meeting. Next planning commission meeting will be March 28th. There will be a public hearing.
I will be out of town for that.
Okay. We'll probably ask, Kevin, are you gonna be in town?
Yes, I should be.
Could you chair that?
Sure.
meeting? Okay.
And, well, the angry people were
And you're the right man.
And, we just have one other item. You want to talk about yes. Jeff just has briefly, just wants to talk about Christensen development.
Remember a while back when Christensen's brought in this idea of doing this 8-unit,
Townhouse.
townhome project up here in the north end of town. And, I actually can't remember what the planning commission recommended to the city council. The city council recommended that it could be rezoned subject to going to 6 units instead of 8. I don't remember what the planning commission
We denied it.
denied
All the way,
altogether.
all around. Yeah.
Okay, so you denied it altogether, then it went up there and they said, we'll approve it, limited to 6. One of the things that we can do as a city to meet affordable housing things is we can actually own a piece of property and build a higher density project. Brandon and I both believe that having some things that we can point at and say, we did this over here, we did that over there, we did that over there, are things that, and the feathers that we can put in our cap and say, we did these things. So just the very short of it is that we believe that that is a project that was proposed, we have a developer that says it's doable. We think there should be a consideration to resurrect that. And that's what we want you to consider and think about.
Are you asking them to consider it 6 or 8?
I don't know what the proper number is. I don't know. But I know that we're going to have to show the state things that we have done to try and meet affordable housing requirements. And that's just something that's fresh on all of our minds. It's something that was here not that long ago. We think that there should be some consideration for that.
I wasn't there for that one, and I wasn't Clark and Justin would have been, so I think you have at least 3 fresh minds to hear that out.
That's the one right in front of us, yes.
And the other thing on consideration is the property right to the south is kind of, well, sort of already pegged, should we say, or.
On our general plan, it shows it as a potential location for.
I think this will come clearer in the picture when you see the requirements that were required. You see the list of things that we have to do. I think you'll see that pops out. Very easy thing to do is say, let's rezone this property and do a higher density development. You see the other things on the list, you're gonna say, how are we gonna do that?
Well, I think to your question and what Kevin said, that we should revisit it because Clark and Justin and Kevin wasn't here. We've got 3 members that haven't heard it.
So we're just saying that, that's something that sometime in the near future that we would like to readdress.
Okay.
And I mean, just going to our earlier discussion about the external ADUs, I figure let's schedule that in the near future to talk about that.
Yeah, we will.
We could maybe put it into April because it's gonna be too busy on the 28th.
Why is 8 so much more important than 6?
It's all about,
It's all about the money that.
no, it has nothing to do with money. I was happy to talk to you about it offline, but what it's about affordability. It's not about money, it's about affordability. I'd be happy to talk to you if you want to hang out for 10 minutes right after.
Well, we've had this conversation.
Didn't they say the target price on
And probably more now with the higher.
It's probably gonna be at least 500. That's one of our discussions is that it's not really affordable. Yeah, it's not affordable housing.
So obviously, that project's near and dear to me because we are the property owner.
Right.
Let me tell you why I show up here. We had that discussion that night, right outside those doors, Joe Christensen and I believe it was his father. Said, hey, let me come to Orange County. Let us know what we're going to do to make this okay. Months went by. Joe called me at 9 o'clock one night, and I come down and talk to him. And we come down and talk to him, it's dark, we can't see him. I'm not going to sign off on anything until we walk this property. He came down and we talked, I'll be back in a couple of days, outlining in paper what we want months ago. Joe Christensen tried to talk to me about that months ago. It went nowhere. I know, that's why I'm here to talk. Joe Christensen, he said it meeting 2 weeks ago. He's gonna come up and talk to me. I sent a text at 4:00. Joe, this is what I'm gonna be interested in talking about. At 9:00 that night, he texted me. Sorry, I forgot. So I just tried to call him. So he texted me the other day, told me that this meeting was going down tonight. I'm gonna give you a piece of paper so I can take it. I could call him today at 4:00, nothing. So I had 5 people tell me they're gonna come talk to me about this, and none of them followed through.
We also invited Joe Christensen to go talk to all the neighbors. We've asked him to reach out to all the neighbors. I don't know if he's done it. Sounds like he has.
Well,
We were at that last meeting, I'm sorry,
oh, no,
when we were at the last meeting, the developer that said that he needed to have 8 units in order for 6 would not.
I can.
And that's why I think the commission denied it. And we were still over that.
Well, we haven't heard anything of it, and so as of right now, it's not before the planning commission at all.
And we haven't seen a plan with 6 units on it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Because they're not going to stop there.
And and I need you to know that this isn't coming from Joe to the city, this is coming from our need as a city, to provide affordable housing. Now, what's affordable housing in Fruit Heights? I don't know what that is, but the state legislature is telling us that we have to provide it. So if it's $600,000 or $1 million, I don't know what that affordability is. I can't afford it, I don't live here. They live somewhere else, because they can't afford 600.
So can I just ask the state requirements, timeline? We will follow this list.
So there's a series, and again, if you wanna hang out after, I will talk to you until you're blue in the face.
Yeah, let's have that conversation.
Thank you, everyone. For the motion to adjourn,
Move to adjourn.
have a second. All in favor?
I
Aye. Okay, thank you, everyone.